Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my DevilNeverCry 5 Dante Must Die S-Rank walkthrough. This is mission 15, it's called Diverging Point Nero, and I think that this is the second most difficult of Nero's levels to S-Rank. The level itself is quite long, with some pretty tricky fights that can be quite stingy with style points, but not quite to the extent of some of Dante's missions. And then at the end there is a boss that is actually quite easy, but it's very, very easy to have it go badly. If you stay on top of the boss doing the right things, you can stun it and do incredible damage, and you'll do that fight effortlessly. However, if you're like me, and you are prone to making mistakes, it can go bad pretty quickly, and I'm going to show evidence of that. However, we still get the S, so do not fret, do not fear, I can get you there in the end. But it begins by the path that I'm choosing. The path I'm choosing is the one I personally prefer. It involves taking on, I think, 2 to 3 Nobodies at the beginning here. I like the Nobodies because they are tanky enough so that you can hit them with a lot of moves, and they are passive enough so that they don't tend to hit you too much unless you make a mistake. If you get hit by a Nobody, it's generally because you couldn't tell what animation it was in, you lost track of it, or you played bad, and I can live with those kind of odds. But at this moment in time, I'm going to be very cavalier, very Machiavellian with my arms, just to try and get some extra points, because there's a lot of idols in this level that let you refill your access to hands, or phone booths as it is for this guy usually. Also be careful of the spikes do a lot of damage. I don't know how I wasn't injured just then, that was very reckless. But try to implement as many of the breakers as you can. They're generally free points, they mix up your style a little bit. They're not essential, you can do everything in this game without them, but they just make it a little bit more fun. I think Capcom really missed a trick though, because I think there should be implementations of combos into Breaker, and it would have added so much complexity and so much more fun. Can you imagine if you could press one attack with the sword, and then press, for instance, style with Overture, and it did a certain move, then if you pressed 2 attacks with the sword, and then you pressed Overture, it did a different move, and every one of the arms had potential modifiers for the combos. Can you imagine how much complexity the game could have had? It wouldn't have been too complicated either, because it's all pretty simple. It would have just given you extra options, and for whatever reason they decided not to. Because that opens up the world of 2 completely new suites of attacks with every arm, because you can have a moveset on the ground and a moveset in the air, and I just feel like the game really needed that. I feel like the breakers would make more sense if that's how they worked, but they don't, and I don't know why. But we get 5,900 style, which is perfectly fine for what we need, and then coming into this room, the room of I can't do a rev to save my life, we're going to be taking on a rather large skirmish, but fortunately it's one of those environments where the room is so big, you can control a lot of this, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So the first spawn is a Baphomet, and I miss my caliber on him because I'm a fantastic player, you should definitely give me money. And then a couple of Nobodies are going to turn up. So once again, feel free to use your arms as best you can, mix up your style, mix up your moves. Make sure to try and rev after certain moves as well. This is a weakness in my game you've probably spotted. Whenever I double down, whenever I do caliber, whenever I do these big level 3 enders, I never try to rev at the end of them because I'm so used to missing. But you need to get into the mindset of always trying to rev. Even if you miss, you might land it, and it might make that difference that you need. But we've got a couple of Antinoras joining the fight here. Antinora is a one-dimensional enemy that I find... Oh wow, that was unfortunate. What are the chances getting stuck in an animation like that? It really shouldn't have happened. I really shouldn't have done it. It was unsafe. Getting hit again, damn. Not my finest hour here. But alas, we'll still get it done. I can use Devil Trigger to compensate for my lack of skill. Here we go. But yeah, this enemy, very one-dimensional. He just has that annoying charge. Everything else about him, I'm kind of okay with. But the charge is kind of his pinnacle, isn't it? It's the thing that makes him him, and it's the thing that I think everybody finds really super annoying. It is interesting. I do try sometimes to table hopper it, but I always miss. And you can parry it, so you can feasibly use Gerbera at the last possible moment and get some free style. But I always kind of miss that too. He's an enemy that I need to practice a bit more, like everything else in this game. But now we just have the Nobodies, and the Nobodies are very durable and very gymnastics when they want to be. And be very careful, did you see that? I would have never grabbed that Nobody if I'd have realised his buddy was in the eyeball mask. The green mask is just bad news, because he'll just perpetually keep pulling eyeballs off himself, and the eyeballs are just a pain in the ass. But hit him with what we can. The other Nobody is having an existential crisis right now, which is cool, because we've put him into a state of being disenfranchised at life. He's realised he only got 1 thumbs up on his most recent video on YouTube, and the algorithm doesn't like him, so he's having a really tough time over here. This is probably before he makes the video vlog and then inevitably shoots up a fucking school like a retard. Here we go. Knock him into the air, shoot him with the gun, try to chase him down and miss. I call that the Chris special, where you try to do something ambitious and you mess it up. I'm a master at that. Did you hear about that though, guys? Did you hear about the shooting in New Zealand? Absolutely awful, tragic and ridiculous, and it's happening a lot. One of the dudes that I heard that did it, did a shout out to PewDiePie, and then PewDiePie ended up getting a lot of negative press because people were blaming him. Can you imagine being blamed for a fucking lunatic, an absolute waste of human life, a person who did nothing but waste oxygen and should have been a fucking stain on a mattress somewhere? Can you imagine being blamed for that cunt and his lack of mental faculties? That is so disgusting, dude. It's so bullshit. And don't get me wrong, I think PewDiePie deserves a lot of criticism. I do. I think he's earned a lot of criticism. But at the same time, don't be levelling that shit on somebody. That could ruin someone's life. What a load of nonsense. Just because some stupid guy who has this fetish for hurting people decides to say some wonderfully topical and irreverent thing does not mean that the thing that he said has anything to do with what happened. It's so ugly. You'll also notice that this is one of the rare moments where I'm going to be using the shops quite a lot. Your arm setup on this sequence is very, very useful. However, I'm going to make a mistake, that's why I'm running back to the shop. The fight we just did was a Fury that I killed immediately using Ragtime and using the Buster Breaker. I need another Ragtime and another Buster Breaker because after a fight coming up, we're going to fight another Fury, and I want to get rid of them as quickly as possible because as much as I love the Fury as an enemy and I think it's really interesting and really cool, it is a style killer. There's almost nothing you can do to that enemy to give you and generate enough style to not hurt your average. And you need to be cognitive of losing your average because this is a long level. This is a 20-minute level. So, this fight is 2 Baphomets that are caged. Be very careful here because he likes to do the triple spikes. The icicle attack is quite bothersome, but if you keep him off camera, he can only do it if he's on camera. And he does it a lot, so be careful. Fortunately, I shot him by accident, which was really useful, and I was able to knock him down so he doesn't do anything. Moral of the story there is if you shoot one of them in the cage, you can focus on the other guy because he's going to be on the ground for a decent amount of time, because this enemy is wonderfully fair. I really like the Baphomet. He does get shafted a bit though if you know what you're doing because you can just wreck him so quickly. But be careful dropping down here. If you drop down here, you will be locked off from accessing the shop and there is a Fury that spawns immediately. Charge your Ragtime, wait for him to turn up, freeze him, and then grab him. You have to break the arm. If you do not break the arm, you won't do enough damage. But if you do, you'll kill him, and you won't have to fight him. And I know people really don't like that enemy, and that's the reason why I did it. So coming up, there's going to be the biggest fight of the level, and the part of the level where you're going to get the most points. I really, really like this fight. I just wish this level wasn't so long. For me, I have 2 mentalities when it comes to Devil May Cry. The first one is, the levels are always better when they're shorter. When it's a succinct 4 to 8 minutes of pure Devil May Cry, it doesn't get any better than that. Those are the missions that you'll be coming back 10 years from now to replay, just to get the quintessential experience of what this game does so well. Those are the best kind of Devil May Cry missions. And then the second thing is less Devil May Cry and more so a new thing that's been added later on in the series is the idea of bosses being a level instead of at the end of a level. When you have bosses at the end of a level, it makes it incredibly difficult for most of the people that play this game to effectively play very well for the full succession of the mission. Devil May Cry 3, absolutely famous for this. To get the highest rank on that game, you could take no damage at all in the full level. And those levels were longish, and then they had bosses at the end of them, and the bosses were very, very punishing if you didn't know what you were doing. The games that followed that were a little bit more generous with that restriction, but you could still do no damage, and you could still acquire it, and it would reward you. However, they added on top of the single level boss criteria that was pretty much started in Devil May Cry 1. Because in Devil May Cry 1, I get fucked here by the way, the strategy that I'm trying to use that worked wonderfully on my first attempt that I failed on this level is freeze time as the Hellbats spawn, and then use both Buster Arms to kill them in one grab. Break both arms on both of those bugs, and you'll not have any problems, even though I think bats aren't bugs, I don't know why I said that, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, it didn't go well. I could insert a clip here of the first time I did this where I killed them both during the ragtime. This time it didn't happen. Get prepared for mistakes to happen, for shit to go wrong, and having to adapt, because that's what these games are all about. But in Devil May Cry 1, when you fought Shadow... Why did I say Shadow? Jesus Christ. When you fought Nightmare in his final form, it was a mission that was a boss. It was a very difficult one as well until you learned it. And then later on when you fight Mundus, those missions are essentially just bosses as well. And they work perfectly because they're self-contained. You have a difficult boss, but that's all you have to do. You don't have to do 10 minutes of navigating, puzzle solving, environmental hazards, and fights. Just the boss. And it's beautiful. It's such a focal point, and it's really, really enjoyable. They did the same thing with Virgil in Devil May Cry 3. They did the same thing in Devil May Cry 4 for certain bosses. And in this game, they do it as well. I would have really liked to have seen all the bosses be their own levels, because not only can you practice them easier, but you can replay them easier as well. And when it comes to ranking, you can focus on just getting it done. That, for me, is the best aspect of single-level bosses. In this mission, you have to play for 15 minutes to get to a boss that you might not be very well practiced at, and it's a bit of a tall ask in my opinion. But these creatures, the Queen Empusas, when she spawns on that platform, if she lands on you, she will hurt you. They have a spawning animation hitbox, and I didn't realise. But this ended up going really well. I managed to pull it back after the bats, and I ended up just demolishing these bugs. Watch me get hit now, I've said that. Stranger things have happened. This thing has so much HP, dude. You'll also notice that this queen has been infused with blood. She will then be more aggressive, and her personality changes a little bit. But if you hit this creature's head enough, it will kind of stutter to the left. It will falter. It did it just then. Do you see it faltering? And now it's dizzy. And then you can grab it. Whenever you see this creature doing like a strange drunken sway, it means you've put it in a position of weakness. If you were using the rawhide, you would be able to launch this creature and pull it into the air with the snatch. But just keep on wailing on it. Use this to get all your points, guys. The boss is going to be a good source of points as well, but this fight is this is the breadwinner right here. This is the one that you get to milk. Do your taunts, do your different moves, try not to get hit, and then hopefully you'll have a nice 6,000 plus result, but I don't think I will because I played kind of garbage at the beginning. Yeah, look at that, 5,100, that's horrible. Unfortunate, but horrible. Never mind, we'll do better next time. And then you just have to push forward into another fight which I wish didn't exist, which is a fight against a Judeca. And I'm going to take the Fury tech and I'm going to use it on the creature coming up. Because it must be said, guys, I feel like this enemy, by far, along with the Proto-Angelo, are the ones that whenever the game throws them at you, I just don't want to do them. Everything else is a blessing and I cherish it. But those two enemies, whenever they turn up, everything stands still. Because they just ruin the flow. And I'm hoping when I'm more knowledgeable and better at the game, that won't be the problem. But I immediately start by freezing time with ragtime, then I use the devil trigger to launch him, and then I immediately break the buster arm on him, and it's enough to kill it. Which, from now on, that's how you fuck up a Judeca if you don't want to fight them. However, it must be said, guys, I probably lost a ton of points by doing that. Because the Judecas take a beating, which is all potential style points. However, they run away so fervently and so ferociously that I feel like I gain more points not chasing them. So, I don't really mind doing that personally. Interesting, so we've got 2 Antinoras and 2 Kainas. Canas, I don't know how you say that. Kaina sounds like Gina, doesn't it? Makes me think of badgers again. Got genitalia on the brain. But devil triggering. I should be using the double snatch with this. Vagina again. Anyhow, when you're in the air, when you're in Devil Trigger with Nero, if you use your bringer button, the button that you inherit at the end of the game, to snatch, you will snatch 2 enemies. And it's super cool because then when you combo, like that, then when you combo, you get twice the style and twice the mileage. Even though technically you don't double up the style, but it feels like you get way more because you're hitting more than one person. And all we need to do now is try and have a good fight. Did you see the swings I was doing just then? That was a failed attempt at doing a different combo. You know the combo where you swing twice and you leave a space? There's many a time when I try to do that and I accidentally just do the normal combo just a lot slower. If you ever see me do that and you wonder what I was doing, it was just an input error from myself. There's the Helter Skelter, rare footage of Chris using a different harm. I don't get this hand. I really don't. I need to watch one of DevilNeverCry's tutorials. Which, if you've not watched his videos, guys, that dude is getting some really, really good attention right now, and for good reasons. He's a good player. Hell, he's called DevilNeverCry, for God's sake. He's obviously a Devil May Cry guy, right? And he's also the person that hooked me up with this game, so mad props to him. I should have probably said that earlier, but if you're listening, dude, you're amazing. Thank you so much. But keep on pushing down here towards the boss fight that's inevitably going to show my lack of experience with it. Oh wow, that was a transition, wasn't it? That was incorrect. There's actually more footage of you running towards the boss, but I apparently didn't put it in. Maybe to save on a little bit of time. So, I love this boss. The KFC turkey drumstick monster thing. And all you really do is attack it, right? Dead simple. When it's in this phase, when it's charging at you, when it turns all black, if you shoot it in the face with charge shot, you will eventually knock it down and stun it, and then from there you can do a lot of great damage to it. The problem with this technique is that Nero loves to shoot the woman, and if he shoots the woman it doesn't work. You have to shoot the bird. So there's a few things you can do, guys. You can use Gerbera to parry it instead, probably, and just dodge into it when it rushes you, and that will make it flinch, hopefully. Or you can use the gun and hopefully get lucky. When you stun it, you want to use Ragtime to slow it, and then after doing a showdown, you want to immediately cancel into a Buster Arm break. If done correctly, you will do a preposterous amount of damage. That's one of the reasons I love this boss, because you can hurt it. You can really hurt it, and afterwards you can caliber into another combo and then just continue to wail on it. Right now, however, the boss will teleport away. It'll start trying to hit you with its legs. Be careful of locking on when it does the leg moves, because if you lock onto the legs, you'll ruin your ability to get to the boss. Now it's gone black again, but it got stunned just then with my charge shot level 3. We're going to try charging our gun. I think it hits me here. He's shooting the woman again. Yeah, see what I mean? It's unfortunate. It's my fault, but still the game fucked me at the same time. If he'd have shot the bird, I was fine. He shot the woman and I took a massive hit. But back into this again. Freeze with Ragtime. Try and do showdown with terrible controls. Got it quite quick, actually. And then immediately follow up again with the big grab. And after this, what's going to happen is the boss is going to Devil Trigger, take massively reduced damage, and then she's going to regenerate the bird. When she regenerates the bird, you cannot damage race it on this difficulty. You can on Son of Sparda. Dante Must Die, it's just too hard to do. So what I would recommend is probably just taking a few moments, maybe to taunt, maybe to do certain attacks, mix it up a little bit, and then get ready for when... Make sure you've got 3 revs and you're exceeded to max for when she fully solidifies. So I'm thinking, I can just beat up on her now, but look at the damage I'm doing. There's no way I'm going to race this. It just can't be done. And if it can be done, I'd love to see it. You must have done every arm on the planet at the same time, right? And then she's immediately stunned again, so we can go back into the previous repetition. But I do some revs on her instead of doing the showdown. The showdown was probably a better idea. I break the Buster Arm and I get the grab. Watch the difference in damage. This is the difference that 50% defense makes. Everything I do is halved. I love how she's got that cauldron though, because she's obviously some kind of witch, isn't she? This is a really interesting fight. When I first saw this, I thought it looked fucking stupid. I thought it looked preposterous. Some, like, featherless, stupid turkey. Oh, by the way, those missiles that it fires, you never, ever want to get close to those. That was just my fault. I don't think I've ever seen that before. The teleport into the run, and then she's stunned again. And then we can attack her, but she's not fully stunned and she runs away. This is the best time to attack, but be very careful. You can watch this. That's why you need to watch those projectiles. so bad, right? My life went from I was doing pretty good to I could probably die right now. And it's all because of this extra third phase stuff and just a couple of unfortunate lock-on moments. But I get the kill, and I finish the level. I really like that fight. I didn't do very well, but there's so much potential there to do better. And at least it's a boss that I can honestly say I enjoy fighting. And in this game, that's a difficult proposition. But there's your S ranks. There's a lovely shot of the bottom of Lady's ass, which is much better than her freakishly mangled face. But thank you once again. Godspeed, good luck with your S ranks, and you take care now.